Insomniacs After School was pretty great. It aired earlier this year in the spring season and had a very intriguing concept that I just couldn't help but be a sucker for. This idea of two kids bound by their insomnia, unable to find solace in sleep, but they find solace in each other, and under the infinite expanse of stars, with a slant on photography. But there's one part that really stuck out to me before we even got all this cool stuff. The music. Yuki Hayashi has done a lot of music for anime, with some of his tracks being probably quite iconic these days, but his body of work extends to things like mobile games and TV dramas. Even before that, his foray into music came in the form of his high school rhythmic gymnastics club. Rhythmic gymnastics is a sport where a person has to perform using their body in a gymnastics and calisthenics sense with an apparatus. There's a lot of history in how modern gymnastics has formed into what we now know as rhythmic gymnastics, and history in what kind of apparatus is used. And for Yuki Hayashi, it was also in the exterior elements of the sport that intrigued him. Rhythmic gymnastics is one part the physical performance and one part accompanying music. When he first started getting software to make music during college, it was mostly to help people within his rhythmic gymnastics scene. And in Japan, there aren't that many who specialize in specifically making music for men's rhythmic gymnastics. He even makes an estimate that he may have done 80 to 90% of pieces for this category at his peak due to the rarity of someone like him. The one thing that stuck out to me is his focus on empathy. How he found it helpful to have a structure that understood the feelings of the athletes. In other words, it's very important that he matches the music with the performance on a deep level. To further build on this point, when he started making music, his main practice was copying songs in MIDI, the musical instrument digital interface, basically a way you can connect devices together to make sounds. What Hayashi found was that this method didn't retain quality in terms of what sound image you get, so he worked to maintain that. In other words, he got good at being emphatic. He had to strive to understand the music to reproduce it at a level that was the same as the original. Understanding the texture and emotionality of music became the crux of his creation as he moved to composing for films and drama, trying to embody images that people have in their heads, in this case the images of the writer, director, and characters. A cool example is Haikyuu, where he describes the music he made as intentionally imperfect. Since the story is about high schoolers, people who aren't perfect but still have a lot of passion, he wanted the music to be like that, a kind of amateur sound. And in that same interview, he talks about how his music grows with the characters if he's doing a long-running series. All of that is to say, Hayashi takes on a very direct and intimate approach to composing, making sure to deeply understand the narrative to invoke correct images and impressions. His unique experience being a rhythmic gymnast gives him a great avenue to perfect that, since that sport is about precision and grace, and being able to communicate artistically through those actions, alongside an appropriate musical accompaniment. Let's start talking about Insomniacs. One of the main things that stuck out to me is Hayashi's frequent usage of voices, not with lyrics, but as an additional instrument. For me, the usage of voices as an instrument is really satisfying. I've always been a fan of insert songs, but I think there's something wholly unique when it's just a voice used for harmony. The lack of lyrics allows the voice to be at the forefront. We aren't led to focus on the meaning of what's said, but just the bass singing voice. And that amplifies a lot of these tracks. It makes me even more aware of the moment because I'm drawn in not only by the often very pretty nighttime visuals, but also the allure of something much more natural and empathetic, the human voice. A lot of the tracks with voice sound ethereal. These aren't vocals that are meant to completely overtake instruments, but as a soft embrace to the instruments. There's something extremely soothing about them. It's akin to a soft, gentle lullaby. Like if I close my eyes, I could be whisked away. This gentleness is a big part of the show. We can see this in episode 7. Magari has just told Ganta about one of the reasons why she can't fall asleep, about her anxiety that she may never wake up. But Ganta tells her that he'll give her his presence. This ends up being recordings that they send each other, that they can replay if they like, but that they can always have a lullaby of their own. The accompanying background track is one with a soothing voice playing over it, My Treasure. It's necessary for the scene that the emphasis on voice is not only on what they are doing, but even down to the music. The voice in the music is a literal representation of the scene, but also representation of the soothing nature of others. It doesn't matter if the voice has no lyrics, because what matters is the mere human presence. And so the voice is intertwined in the instruments, not overtaking it, but gently placed in between. The instruments are an allusion to their worries, to their fears of the night, of everything around them, but placed snugly in that space is their voices, harmonizing together, and it makes the track complete. No matter how much the instruments keep on going, we are reminded of that human presence, and the track takes on an ethereal quality. In the same way, Magari and Ganta, as they fall asleep, still hold on to their traumas, but they are instead reminded of each other's presence through their voice recordings. It is vital to them that amidst everything else, they are able to be soothed by something as simple as their voices. The voices even join at precisely the time when the dialogue is cut off, filling in the gaps and also giving the scene a sense of peace. It might feel jarring to have us unable to hear them talking when we can see them talking, but the music gives us that peace. It's a track that works for all parties involved. It's a track that fits the base narrative of the scene, but also what the scene represents. And I think Hayashi really understood that by having the voice be such a vital part of this piece. Of course, the voice tracks are layered throughout the show in good effect, and produce a similar result even if the scene isn't literally about the importance of voice and presence. The most memorable for me is from the first episode. While Magari and Ganta are goofing off at nighttime, having just learned that they're both insomniacs, we hear a very cheery instrumental pop in. This song is called Let's Have Fun, which is basically the premise of their outing. Unable to do much about their conditions, they go out to have fun. As the track continues, we get the vocal backing. As usual, these aren't lyrics, but I think it does a great job in bringing attention to the moment that feels very empathetic to their situation. This isn't a lonely night for either of them to wallow in their insomnia as they may previously have before meeting each other. Instead, it is one where they are together. And having the voices draws attention to that harmony of humanity. The instruments serve as that piece of the joyful excursion, but it is them who are together, the voices that really makes this moment special. Throughout even the scenes where they don't talk, this vocal backing plays in a way to substitute their dialogue, filling in the spaces. It isn't always perfect, but it serves as secondary dialogue that even if we can't hear what they say, just like in episode 7, they're still connected through these vocals. And I think that's really important to the scene, to show the bond they are forming here, not only from what we can see, but even in what we hear. Of course, I can't just sit here and talk only about the vocal tracks. There's a lot of really great music just in the regular songs that also do a good job of showing how Hayashi uses the material to his advantage. The obvious ones are also the cool ones in this case, aptly named Shutter Speed, Aperture, ISO. The song, to no surprise, uses camera sounds. The shutter turning, the click of the camera, and also has vocal backing and of course the usual suspects like a violin and guitar. It is the amalgamation of everything that makes this track so cool, but also what really brings home the essence of the show. This plays in a few places, like in episode 5, when Magari and Ganta have successfully snuck out from their camps to get some epic nighttime shots. And well, since they're setting up the cameras and doing fieldwork, it only makes sense that the track featuring literal cameras plays. They're even talking about camera settings, making the camera sounds feel that much more appropriate. Given a different thematic fretting, or a different story altogether, the stylization of having camera sounds might not have been as suited as a show literally having this as a main idea. And I think it's cool that Hayashi took the material to the extreme here, mimicking the literal story in the music. Oh, and since we're coincidentally on episode 5, let's rewind a bit and talk about Passing the Baton, the song that plays at the start of the scene when Magari takes Ganta's arm. The The moment and song starts very slowly. Ganta doesn't know what's yet to come, but Magari pulls him forward. It seems like she doesn't yet know where she's taking him. But the forward momentum, the idea of just running ahead and having fun is all that matters. Even when she falls, all she cares about is going on ahead, dragging Ganta with her towards something more. As they step into the ocean, the track flutters with them. The nightscape beams brightly with brilliance, and we get a flurry of instruments in crescendo. The sound feels like it's echoing against each other, but in reality, they're harmonizing, like the two of them, holding pasts that they have yet explored. But when they're here like this, they feel complete. They don't speak to each other in this moment, they let their laughter fill in the void of what they want to say, and while the track itself doesn't have any vocals, their laughter almost becomes that. It feels like this would have been the perfect time to have one of those empathetic vocal tracks, but it would have surely been drowned out by them. So instead, the track lets them have the spotlight. It passes them the baton. Even if the song is a cascade of all these sounds, there's enough room for them to laugh and enjoy themselves. This idea of passing the baton is also what sparked the scene in the first place. The action of Magari gripping onto Ganta as if she was taking a baton being handed to her in a relay race, but what she's taken hold of is this moment in time where they can exist undisturbed under a galaxy of stars. Insomniacs After School was a very enjoyable watch for me, with the main duo's journey through learning about each other, their growing dynamic and characterization, how they layer that in the unique nighttime escapades, how they blend that with the idea of photography, of how it all blends naturally with their conditions of insomnia. And of course, it couldn't have been so enjoyable and magical if not for Yuki Hayashi's interpretation of all of these characters and themes, and how he's able to create the music of midnight. And that was the end of the video. I do apologize. I recorded the audio while I was sick. I kind of was fighting a pretty bad cold, so if I sounded a little more rough than usual, or that I was kind of forcing some of the words, it was because I literally was to get the recording done. So I do apologize for that. Hopefully this was a interesting look at a show that, despite me not directly analyzing scenes or the story or characters directly, hopefully embedding the music into that made it interesting to see just how ingrained and amazing the music really is for Insomniacs. There's a few shows like that in this past year that I may want to make more music related things to. Otaku comes into mind with the ending, but we'll see. If you didn't know, I do have a Patreon where you can take a look at if you wish to support beyond just, being here, watching the video and all that, which is really great and great support too. And of course my other socials, like on Twitter, where you might get updates on what I'm making, what I'm watching, or even figuring out things like apparently Yasuhiro Irie watched my Healer Girl video, which is just insane. But anyways, thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next one.